Hello everyone, back to today's third video. This is the main video for today, so we're going to be having a look at weather for the next week to 10 days. Takes us to around the 11th of June. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFS V2 at the end of the video, which takes us to more or less the end of June. So 2 videos released so far today. So we have the weekend forecast, as always on a Saturday, your detailed weekend look ahead, and also we've started the Le Mans updates for this summer for the Piston Heads community. So that video was released second up this afternoon. Got Terry Scoll's June forecast coming up tonight. That's going to be quite an interesting read, and I think some of the Glasgow goers might find that a little bit interesting. It takes us all the way to the end of June. It's a full June look ahead. So that'll be around 7 o'clock this evening. Right, going to start off Central England temperature. We've got it in for May. So this is the CT page at Glasgow. We have incorporated every month's CT right way back to the year of 1659 at Galsworthy's did that last year. So scrolling down to the latest year, this is what we're seeing. So just zoom in a little bit perhaps, and we can see 2019 just there. And May has come out at 11.1. So if we compare that to the averages, so we've got 81 to 2010 and 61 to 1990 here. So 61 to 1990, May CT average is 11.2. So at 11.1, we're almost bang on the 61 to 1990 average. That's an old and cold temperature average. You shouldn't really be using that. It's so far ago. It's not really relevant for the sort of climate that we've got now. It encompasses the really cold decade of the 1960s. I had many cold winters, including kind of like the daddy of cold winters, which 1963, the coldest winter since 1740. Had lots of cold winters and also pretty grim summers as well in the 1960s. So that's always been an old and cold temperature average. A more modern average, a more relevant average, if you like, to the climate we've got now is 81 to 2010. And May comes out 11.7 on average. With 81 to 2010. So actually compared to 81 to 2010, we have had a rather colder than average May. We're over half a degree below average there against 81 to 2010. So a pretty chilly May is what we've just experienced. How does that compare to recent years? Well, last year was very warm at 13.2, and so was the year before. Both 2017 and 2018 come out with May CTs of 13.2. 2016 was another warm May as well at 12.5. Have to go back to 2015. This year just here for a cooler May than this year. May 2015 comes out at 10.8, rather a chilly month indeed. 2014 was a warm May, 12.2. Then going up a little bit further back, we find that 2013 comes out at 10.4, so that was quite a cold May in 2013. Of course, had a prolonged cold spell through the first half of 2013. Every month, right way from January all the way through to June, was below average in the first half of 2013. Back beyond that, so 2012 comes out at 11.7, 2010 comes out at 12.2, warm May there, and then 2010 comes out at 10.7. So I've been a bit up and down with Mays recently. I haven't had all that many of them this decade, but have been in the 11s. There's only 2012 that has 11.7. So anyway, 11.1 was the CT for May 2019. Still waiting to get UK-wide data in. Of course, as soon as we get that, we will bring that data to you. And then we'll be able to do the verification for the spring forecast, of course, when we've got all of the May data in. We'll have all of the spring data as well. We'll be able to verify the spring forecast. I think the spring forecast, which was for a rather dry and pretty warm spring, I think that's come out quite well. I think it's been a pretty decent forecast, but we should wait and see to get the official sort of stats from that. Warm afternoon out there this afternoon. So these are the latest observations from xcweather.co.uk. And current high temperature is 27 degrees. There it is, flashing away. Let's scroll down a bit, flash away in Cherbourg, across the north of France, actually. UK-wide, we're kind of like more sort of 26 degrees. For example, London Heathrow there, coming out at 26 degrees. Then that may warm up to 27 in the next half an hour or so. There is still a chance of a little bit more warming through the course of this afternoon. This is the tweet put out by the UK Met. So let's see what they were saying around an hour or so ago. Breaking news, it's the warmest day, it's the hashtag warmest day of the year so far. Heathrow has reached 26.2 Celsius. It's around 79 Fahrenheit, and it is still warming up. So there we go, Heathrow standing at 26.2. That might tick up a little bit more. It's possible we could get to 27 at one of the stations in the next half an hour or so. Certainly very warm afternoon out there. Just in time for the first day of summer, of course. It's first day of mid-tropical summer. Mid-tropical summer is the 1st of June to the 31st of August. It's very questionable. The weather doesn't know that we have these defined criteria. So, of course, you can get very warm, hot weather before the official start of summer and well after the official start of summer in September, and sometimes even in October as well. But you have to have defined periods when you come to divvying up the numbers, and the defined sort of summer is the 1st of June to the 31st of August, so nice and warm and summer-like for our first day of summer 2019. I don't think this is going to last too much longer, though. So, these are how the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts are looking from the Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look in a moment, is on the bottom. These are the mean flowcharts for the next week to 10 days. We're looking at the 500 millibar height anomalies for the 7 to 10 day time frame, which takes us to kind of like the 10th, 11th of June. 500 millibars is an area in absolute high pressure, low pressure being moved around by the jet stream. So red extrapolates high pressure blue to low pressure. You can see with the ECM, we've got this area of above average heights over across eastern and northeastern parts of Europe, and a ridge also in the Atlantic. But in between, we've got this trough of low pressure close to the UK and northern parts of France. So we're going to be doing something a little bit like that with the jet stream. Looks rather unsettled in the 7 to 10 day time frame. GFS is similar, but it's a bit further north with that trough of below average heights, kind of like to the north of Scotland. Les Azores high, which is from the Atlantic, possibly into France. So this is a little bit flatter, a little bit more westerly, but both of them are still rather unsettled, I think, as we're going into the 7 to 10 day time frame. This is how the GFS ensembles are looking for the next couple of weeks in terms of the upper air temperatures and precipitation. Look at Penzance today. Someone's asked to have a look at Penzance. So, by the way, if you'd like to have your local town or city featured in this section of the video, then we're always happy to do that. Just leave a comment, perhaps in the comment box at Gazovids or on YouTube. Tell us where you'd like us to look at. And we're always happy to feature your local town or city. Can't go down to village level with these yet, but we can certainly show local sort of towns and cities. So let us know where you'd like to see featured for this section of the video. So red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Penzance. We're starting off warm, very warm at the moment. Temperature is going to be cooling down, of course, over the weekend and start of next week. They're actually going quite cool through much of next week, going a bit below par. Into the second half of June, into the second week of June, I should say, and running up to the middle of the month, we find that the temperatures are lifting up. Now, that does include some real blowtorch heat type runs. So we have got around 2 or 3 that are going with very hot temperatures indeed, taking the upper air temperatures there around the middle of June to 20 degrees at 850 HPA. That'd be enough to lift the temperature probably to 32 degrees, 90 Fahrenheit. Very early to be seeing that. Normally you expect to see those sort of real hot outlier type type ensemble members much later in the summer, in July and August, when the continent has a chance to get really hot, of course. So quite unusual to see that so early in the summer. Might be indicative, but once we get further on into the summer, there is hot potential. Of course, that's what the Gaz of his summer forecast suggested, but we shall see. Anyway, it's few hot outliers there, and more generally we do see that in the extended range with the GFS ensembles now we are lifting the temperature up, so relatively cool next week after a warm start, and then warming up in the second week of June heading into middle of month, but does look quite unsettled, doesn't it? So these are the precipitation spikes down here on the floor of the chart. So pretty much from around Monday onwards, we've got precipitation ants starting to appear, and then these precipitation spikes continue really throughout the rest of the ensemble. So it looks quite unsettled, cool and unsettled initially, and then potentially much warmer and unsettled as we go into the middle of June. So maybe just going from cold rain to warm rain. Temperature anomalies from the 1st to the 9th of June are a bit below average, particularly for northwestern parts of the country, nearer normal in the east, but overall a little bit on the cool side actually for the first week of June. And of course that does encompass today's hot weather, so these will probably cool down more from tomorrow, these anomaly charts. Precipitation anomalies average to a little bit wetter than average, so it looks rather cool and unsettled for the first half of, or the first week to 10 days anyway, of June. That's how the GFS operation rate is looking up for Tuesday, rather cool and showery. And in fact, this area of low pressure just here, there's a lot of uncertainty about that. This area of low pressure just here might bring a more generally wet day on Tuesday. So Tuesday could be pretty grim, especially for western parts of the country. This will covered by weekend forecast, of course. Wednesday has sunshine and showers, and we keep these showery conditions going into the second half of the week. Next weekend, we try to build a little bit of a ridge up from the south, but nothing really comes of that. It very quick gets flattened off as the next area of low pressure comes in from off the Atlantic. That's how we're looking at day 10. So then we're trying to get a build of high pressure going from the Azores high. So this is the Azores high just here, of course, sending in the ridge into France. We've got low pressure to the north, so does look up to day 10 anyway, rather unsettled, but down in the south is trying to turn drier and warmer. What actually happens with this GFS running the extended range, and we cover this with the Le Mans update, is that the Azores high sends its ridge to our east, get low pressure developing out to the west, and that sucks up a really hot southerly wind. I assume that's what a lot of those hot outlier, or those couple of hot outlier members within the GFS ensembles are doing around the middle of June. They're pulling up this really hot southerly wind. That is impressively hot for the middle of June. This is still early summer, so continent hasn't really had a chance to warm up a great deal. So to be pushing the 20 Celsius isotherm into northern France in the middle of June, that is quite unusual. But as ever with weather, anything can happen. And this is all very unreliable stuff, though, so it's almost certainly over the top. Now, this push of heat around the middle of June does involve a thundery low as well. So it's a classic sort of Spanish plume, really. Hot air surges northwards, but then a cold front comes in from the Atlantic. That could well be the trigger for violent thunderstorms. And that's how we finish up as we get to the end of a GFS run, which is for Monday, the 17th of June. And we're back to cool and showery conditions. And a reinforcement, actually, of northern blocking, a return of northern blocking over Greenland. So that could set us up something rather cooler and more unsettled in the second half of June. This is how the GFS parallel run is looking. So again, rather cool and showery in the days ahead, going up to the weekend. Over the weekend, we get this build of high pressure. Actually, parallel GFS makes a little bit more of this high pressure next weekend. So this will give us a mainly dry and quite warm weekend next weekend. That high pressure then starts to push up towards Greenland, so it's trying to become a northern blocking feature, but it would keep a lot of dry and warm weather going into the second week of June. This is how things look at day 10. which is Tuesday the 11th of June. So at this point, we've got high pressure sitting to our north and east, low pressure is out to the west. So again, we're trying to draw up some quite hot air from the south. Upper air temperatures not anywhere near as extreme as the GFS operational run, but still drawing up some pretty warm air from southern Europe. In the more extended range, that's how we're looking. So high pressure sticking quite close to us, right way up to the end of the GFS parallel run, which gets us to Monday the 17th of June, quite anticyclonic. So there's a lot of dry and warm weather on offer really with that ECM run, with that GFS parallel run. I say ECM because I've just noticed that I haven't got up the ECM midnight run for you. So I'm just going to get that up now. There we go, and we'll see what that's showing. So again, it's rather cool and showery on Tuesday. Could be involving a longer spell of rain then we go through to Wednesday, and that one also looking quite cool and showery. That's Thursday, further showers likely there. Maybe a more general area of rain towards the southeast there on Thursday from that area of low pressure that's across the Low Countries. Still rather cool, showery conditions on Friday. We'll carry on through to next weekend. Looking rather unsettled next weekend with the ECM run. I have to say, no real build of high pressure, unlike what the GFS operational and parallel runs are showing. And then we develop an area of low pressure actually up to Monday the 10th of June. So that brings, or would bring, really wet weather across England and Wales there from the 9th to 10th of June. That's how we look as we end the ECM run today, and we're starting to build up a bit of high pressure from the Atlantic then. So quite cool, winds are in from the north, probably still showery in the east, but this ridge is starting to extend in from off the Atlantic. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles for day 10. Today, which of course is taking us to the 11th of June. This is from the Icelandic Met Office. We have 19 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure sitting up to our north and northeast. Low pressure is out to the southwest. These will be drawing up pretty warm, maybe in fairly hot southerly to southeasterly winds, but of course the low pressure down here could act as a trigger to produce thunder. So those ones might be pretty thundery, but they would be quite warm. Then there's 18 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure out to our west and also to our northeast. Low pressure this time is to the south. So these are similar. Again, this low pressure will be trying to bring thunder or maybe more general areas of rain into the south. Reasonably warm again with those. And then there's 14, which does include the ECM operational run. That's run we're just looking at, of course, that are flatter. They have the above average heights sitting to the south, below average heights up to the north, with a westerly flow, and certainly to the south there would be a lot of dry weather on offer there. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This is taking us to the 16th of June, so we have 18 members of the ECM ensembles, including the control run, that has above average height sitting just to our north. So lots of dry weather with that. Not necessarily all that warm. Winds are probably east to northeasterly, but would be very, very pleasant conditions with those. Then there's 18 with high pressure sitting just to our east-northeast. Again, they're mainly dry. They're a lot warmer, I would have thought. Winds are being drawn in from an east-southeasterly direction. And then there's a minority option of 15 that has below average heights, low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. Probably quite warm. There's some above average heights to the east, so probably drawing up warm air ahead of that trough of low pressure. They might be a little bit thundery, perhaps, with those 15 just there. It does look as though the ECM ensembles is still keen on the trend towards high pressure or higher pressure in the second week of June and up to the middle of the month. Finally, the CFS V2 is looking like this. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period goes from the 1st to the 7th of June. The coming week looking rather unsettled. Below average heights over to the west of the country. We bring in an Atlantic flow. It's not particularly cold. Winds are coming up from a south-southwest direction, so it's relatively mild or even warm, but it is rather on the changeable side. Week 2 is the 8th to the 14th of June. Above average heights building or sitting to our east, below average heights just to the west. Probably quite warm, maybe a bit thundery with those, could be bringing up the wind from a southerly direction, but still quite unsettled, quite changeable. Week 3 is the 15th to 21st of June, below average heights to our north, above average heights receding back to the extreme east of Europe and west of Russia, so probably turning quite cool and unsettled in that week. CFS still looks rather changeable for June, I have to say. And then week 4 is the 22nd to 28th of June, with above average heights to our north-northeast, below average heights to our southwest, probably bringing in a warm or very warm east-southeast wind, but with this low pressure just to our southwest, that could be threatening thunder from the south. So June with the CFS anyway is shaping up to be rather changeable. But I still think that within the GFS and the ECM output, there is a chance of something a bit drier and maybe warmer, possibly very warm, going into the middle part of the month. Probably wouldn't last all that long, but for a time it might get very warm at some point through the second week of June and going into the middle part of the month. All the time, though, it is looking rather changed, but it doesn't look as though we're going to go into a prolonged bout of high pressure yet. We was, with the summer forecasts, expecting that more later in the summer. June always looked a rather mixed, albeit quite warm, but rather mixed month. And high pressure perhaps becoming more dominant later in the summer. But as ever with the long-range forecasting, that's very speculative. So that's your updates done for today, your video updates anyway. Got Terry's Gold's June forecast coming up tonight, this evening. Tomorrow, where we're going to have our first batch of autumn analogues. So can you believe we're up to autumn updates now? Also, Gazzo is Sunny Roundup coming up tomorrow. And we're going to have a video update for Download and the Isle of Wight Festival. So lots of events, lots of festivals getting underway now as we're into the summer. There'll probably be a written update tomorrow as well for Glastonbury. So that could be quite interesting. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.